Well, hello everybody. We are rambling once again, and we are in the mid 30s for the number of podcasts. And I gotta say, I need to apologize that the ramblings have been they've been subpar the last few times. I think part of it is the recovery still from Holy Week, and a lot of energy that I've been putting forward into doing the deep dives with David, but I was half hoping that you'd hear behind me the noise of the renovation on the wall. So, if you were here, if you ever are at the church Monday through Friday between 7:30 and 3, there's a high chance that you'll hear a very loud noise. And part of that noise is with the shoring up of the building in order to redo part of the foundation. They are drilling holes, and they are even cutting beams in the wall and redoing all that other stuff, and it is loud. In fact, so my office is almost the last building going westward from where the renovations are going on, and they were cutting something, four rooms down, and I could have sworn that they were underneath my office with how loud it was. Now, that being said, it's like, okay, how much noise can you really work with and everything else like that. And it was so just disorienting that something so far away would be this close. Now, part of the reason why, if you understand anything about sound, it's a vibration, and it actually carried through the materials in the wall, which is why it seemed like it was so close. But I think sometimes, too, that should remind us also, just because something seems loud doesn't mean it's actually close to you. It's it's how it's close to you. But then with that, too, we were talking to the folks on Wednesday, just an update. We're asking for an update every 2 weeks from them. And so we're about 10 days into the project. And in it, the folks, the construction workers, said that they frequently get folks at the hospitals or other buildings that are upset at they're upset at them. And they say, we want you to be quiet. And so then they don't allow them to work during different shifts or do certain sawing or other things during certain shifts. And they were so appreciative that we have not told them that they're too loud. And I think about that just from a very just awkward standpoint of, why would we be paying you to build our wall but be complaining about how loud it is? And progress is loud whenever it comes to construction. And so that just made me think about how often, you see all these things about people, they're like, this is the moment that you prayed for, or this is the stage of life that you prayed for, and now you're upset about how hard it is or difficult it is. And I gotta admit, I wanted to be married with kids my whole life, and then now that I have kids, I didn't realize just how difficult it was to parent. And it's a reminder, this is something that I prayed for and I want, and it's a good thing. Parenting is hardest for the people who are actually trying hard, who are actually trying to help develop and disciple and mature their children and pour into them and to care for them and to actually have an emotional bond with their child. It's so easy to just either neglect or be angry as a parent, but the easy is not going to have good outcomes. It's not going to be good for you, your kids, anything else. And so also just think about anyone who's ever written a book. Like, it's difficult. Like, it's been difficult for me right now to adjust to a new laptop because I had to figure out, how do I print from a Mac to a Xerox? And it involved, I spent probably an hour trying to go through downloading drivers and checking this and checking that, and I couldn't do it. So then I called up the Xerox person, and he's like, hey, all right, download this app so then I can come into your computer and, do it on your own. And I couldn't even figure out how to find that app for him to get into my computer. So it was just all this work. but it's worth it whenever you actually see the end goal. And so just because something's difficult doesn't mean it's bad. And in fact, the difficulty of something sometimes shows the value or the worth in it. Now, this is not an absolute thing, but sometimes the more you are really having to put up with the difficulty of a moment, you got to sit and just enjoy it and appreciate it. And so I'm reminded of that because last Saturday we had a soccer game. I'm coaching my middle daughter in soccer, 8U soccer team. And just for the sake of, I'm not going to give a lot of details about the kids' names, obviously, grades, age, or anything else like that. But it was a hard game. We got utterly destroyed, and we were missing some players, and some players were sick during the, well, not sick, but like there were some tummy aches and some kids who needed, to get a hug from their mom or their dad. And my daughter had a very hard time. She struggled with the reality that we were losing so badly, and as the kids were grasping with the reality of being skunked in a game, they were then panicking and feeling worse and doing worse, even though, in the fourth quarter, they ended up doing a little bit worse. But the first quarter, we saw some issues. They got better the second quarter, and then the fourth quarter. But the third quarter, they continued that improvement. Then the fourth quarter, though, things kind of fell apart with tummy aches and stuff like that. And, it's interesting because I'm trying to not let these kids give into their despair in the moment. And then I'm dealing with this utter feeling of failure and despair. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, how can I not manage these children? Like, everyone wants to be a better coach than they are, I think. And so then, like, I'm having this identity crisis of, am I just a terrible coach? These kids deserve better, all these things. And it's just like, holy cow, like, I'm trying to help these kids, and I got to do it myself. Like, and part of the difficulty of that moment is my middle child is crying, saying she doesn't like soccer anymore. These other things, I tried to encourage her because it was not a good weather day. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. And my wife and my parents were in town, but my wife and my parents were at a marriage retreat that our church was having, and I actually had to excuse myself from that part of the marriage retreat to then go coach. And my middle child is like, why isn't anyone watching the game? Like, she was very discouraged. She wanted people to come cheer her on. And I told her, hey, this is your opportunity to learn and to grow how to share your experience with someone else. So something that I've thought a lot about in the last 10 years of coaching is children need to learn how to talk about the competition that they were just in to their parents. Instead of their parents having to always be there, there's a value of sharing. So that question, when someone comes home from a game or a track meet or, a swimming competition, gymnastics, anything else like that, a wrestling match, for them to be able to say at a dinner table with their parents, and the parents say, hey, how did it go? And then for you to explain, hey, this is the game, this is who we played against, this is who I guarded. You're able to actually share that experience, and by sharing it, there's a bond that's experienced that is not one-to-one the same as watching a game, but at the same time, there almost can be there's an opportunity for a stronger bond because it's you giving not just what happened, it's you sharing your feelings about it and your interpretations of it. And so your parents get to see, or your friends or your family get to see your emotions in it. So my child is having this meltdown because she's like, I don't want to tell grandma and grandpa about losing 22-0, or I don't know if it's 22 or 24, because I was like, I am not going to keep track of the score of this game. Like, the goal is not to win. The goal is to become better athletes, to become better soccer players, to mature, to become better human beings. I would love to win. I do not like losing at all. But so they're spiraling out of it. So then I had to, in a separate manner, make sure that I personally wasn't doing the exact same things that I didn't want my athletes to do. And so all this to then turn around and just look at it like, it's difficult. It is very difficult to patiently interact with kids on the sideline as well as coaching the team that's out on the field. And it's hard to communicate in ways that are not shame-inducing whenever someone makes a mistake, because sometimes our first reaction is to then be direct, blunt, angry, and that doesn't work, especially with 8U soccer. And it was just it is so it is such a big learning curve for me though. So I frequently brag about the athletes that I've been able to coach. I had the opportunity of coaching Isaac Jones and Meg Simmons, who went on to run Division I at Western Illinois. Had the opportunity of getting to coach Keir Taylor, who went off to run at Monmouth, as well as Ethan Dennis, who was running at Spoon River. Then just the blessing also to get to coach Ashley Strode, who went and pole vaulted in college. But then, like, last year, I think it's such an insane example, though, where, like, I had Caden Fogelsong and Avery Fawcett, who were so keyed in that as a coach, they weren't, if they didn't do perfectly, it was a conversation about, what aspect of this needs to be improved, what aspect of that. And so to go from coaching, Caden, all-state athlete, and Avery, who made it to the state meet in 4 events in track and field, to then deal with 8U soccer kids who are not in that stage of life. I had to learn. It is something that was repeatedly emphasized in coaching is whenever an athlete fails, the coach needs to take the blame. And if an athlete succeeds, we need to make sure that we don't try to hog the glory, because the purpose of an event is for the people participating in it. And as coaches, like we aren't simply in something that's just additional, but you don't need coaches to race. You don't need coaches to play soccer. You don't need coaches to play basketball. Like, coaches are not a definite part of the game. Whenever any game was first created, any competition, like games don't need coaches. So as a coach, I cannot let myself be at all the centerpiece of what's going on. My purpose is to assist and to share those kids' joy and to make sure that they do better. But it's just a huge learning curve to go from, coaching a kid who high jumps, long jumps, pole vaults, hurdles, sprints, is in relays, throws, shot, and disc, to then how do you help this kid who maybe has never played soccer before do it. So I had coached a youth basketball camp once, and I had but my most frequent coaching experience has been with varsity athletes, though I spent quite a few years coaching junior hires. So it's just a big learning curve. But I do want to throw out there that one of the kids on my team reminds me so much of Avery Fawcett, and the energy that he has, the smile that he has. So I told the seniors last year, and I told this to them almost ad nauseum in high school. I remember at a vacation Bible school at the start of my time in Astoria, this group of kids at the community VBS just being super hyper energetic and just like going crazy during the game time. Like, if we do tag or relays or American Eagle, like these kids were locked in and they were just like super, super energetic. And I was looking forward to the point in time that I would get to coach them. And then I got to coach them in junior high and then again when they were high school athletes. And one of my kids on the team reminds me a lot of Avery with just that hyperactivity, just the same look. And it's just like, it's wild. It's almost a beautiful thing, this new chapter of my life, to have like, hey, I have another Avery. And so it's humbling. So part of the humbling nature of coaching and being a pastor is that you are part of people's lives and you get to watch the new chapters in their lives, and then also people get to experience the new chapter in my life whenever they see it. But my seminary advisor, Daryl Yoder, is doing a PhD, and in his PhD, part of his research was the spiritual formation of Christians aged 18 through 29. And so he created the survey and he shared it on his Facebook page, and then I sent that link to multiple people. And it was so awesome as I sent that link to athletes that I had coached that I knew were Christians, just to have their response and have them say, filled it, did it, coach. And it's so humbling and encouraging to be able to be part of people's life. Like we are all obviously going to have times whenever a friendship that we thought was strong turns out to fail, or a time whenever we are hoping to be close to someone and we weren't. But I want to just emphasize too that there's a truth that we are stewards of the friendships and relationships that we have. And a stewardship is something that is given to you by someone else. And so if we're given these friendships by God, then we need to humbly approach them. If we're given our coaching experience or our pastoral or our job or our parenting by God, then we are stewarding these events and opportunities. So it's been really neat. There's going to be a video that goes public on Saturday, a devotion that I made for the Berean Christian Church in Ipava, Illinois. Yeah, I have it correct, in the little Fulton County loop. And I enjoyed looking at that from an aspect of spiritual formation. How does Scripture speak towards the red flags that we need to key in on and grow and improve and sanctify ourselves in, or be sanctified in. And it's just really interesting there. So I'm working with a new computer. Hopefully this video works really well. Hopefully everybody is encouraged. I know that we have not had the exact weather every day in the spring that we want, but at the same time, we know this is what it will look like in the Midwest. So we can complain, but we shouldn't complain. But I have a wedding that I'm doing tomorrow, and it's a full week from a standpoint of doing wedding prep and forward looking to Mother's Day stuff with the church, as well as communicating and interacting with stuff for youth group. We had a curveball, and I changed what youth group was going to look like because we're joining in with another church on that. Yeah, it's just been a full week. I don't know where the time went, but it's Friday. And my rambling might not be coherent, but that's because it's Friday after a long week, and I hope everyone has an awesome week. And know that if I ever coached you, whether it is for half of a season or for 7 seasons, you have been a blessing in my life, and you have made me a better person because I got to coach you, and I hope that I was able to help you become a better person and a better athlete, and even maybe better at the sport that I coached you at. All right. Reverend out.